everyone, welcome to today's video. Good morning. Well, at least it is for me. The sunlight's coming in and I figured it'd be a really good time to work on this project where I will be making some DIY chalkboards. You can really make your own chalkboard and it's super easy, doesn't take much effort, and really inexpensive. So I'm gonna go over what I have here. I purchased these cutting boards at Michael's, and when I saw that it had such a flat surface and it has this, so it's hangable on the wall, I figured it'd be really cute wall decor to turn these into chalkboards. Price tag says $9.99, but they were 80% off, so I actually got about 9 of them in total. I'm going to be using this chalk paint, which I received as a gift probably about 2 years ago. This stuff lasts forever, but same deal. You can get this at any craft store, Michael's, Home Depot has them. And I'm going to use this foam brush to paint with. You can use a brush if that's all you have on hand, but I find that with the bristles and the hairs of the brush, it's kind of hard to keep it at a very smooth surface. It usually gives it kind of a texture when you're painting with a brush, and you don't want that texture because it will be hard to create some really nice straight lines, and we just want to make this a smooth and easy process. Okay, so we can see here I've laid out all my pieces on some newspaper, and pretty simple. I'm just going to go ahead and paint all of these with the chalk paint. So when you're painting, you do really want to do a thin coat. You really want to spread that paint around, and reason is you don't want any clumps, you don't want any texture going on. You want to make this as smooth as possible, and if you ever find that one thin coat is just not enough and you can see through and it's not as opaque as you need it to be, then you can just wait till it dries and go ahead and do a second coat. And what I'm gonna do is I also want to get all of the edges. You can leave your edges if you have edges going on, but I just want this to look like a complete black chalkboard, so I'm gonna hide all the wooden parts. That's just my taste right now for this project. You can also purchase chalkboard spray paint. That is a really nice option. It is a little bit faster, as all you have to do is spray. But you do just keep in mind that if you're using spray paint, you want to do it somewhere outdoors or ventilated, as it will stink up your house. What is the difference between chalkboard paint and just regular black paint? This stuff, it's super matte. That's what I really like about it. It really gives it that chalkboard matte look. A lot of the times paint does have a little bit of a gloss, and this stuff here, it's kind of like an acrylic paint. It's a water-based paint. Well, as you can see, it's pretty much almost dry, so it really doesn't take much time for you to wait for it to dry up. This is probably, I don't know, a 10-minute paint job, and it's almost there. So now that I have my dry chalkboard, I went ahead and wrote some thumbnails. I wanted to go with a pun since it is a whale, so whale, hello there. And I always give myself at least 3 different tries to play around with the words, composition, with the type of letters I use, to kind of give myself a better idea visually on what I want to do on this board. So I've got 3 here, and this one I just kind of went with a simple straight letter calligraphy. Here I played around more with the space and there's more movement going on. I do like the movement that I have here, especially with this round shape of the whale. And this one I tried to play around with more of the calligraphy mixed with straight letters. It is really fun sometimes to see a variety of different type fonts, so I figured I'd try it out. I really do enjoy this second try, so I will be going with that. Now I'd like to go over some materials we'll be using. This is a chalk pastel. I got this on Amazon, and it is basically a pencil to just sketch out and give me some guidelines or a little template while I'm doing the chalk marker. And at the end of the project, this will be erased. My go-to marker is chalk ink. These are really great. They're very opaque, very white, and very smooth, and they last a pretty long time. They are the kind of markers that you shake and press down to load more ink. And it's all water-based, easily comes off with a wet towel. You can use paper towel, you can use a tea towel. And you should only write on non-porous surfaces, so you can write on glass, plexiglass, chalkboards. Something like stone is not non-porous, so you would be able to write on it. It would just kind of soak up and drink more of the ink, and it will be hard to erase and change your project if you're using something like stone. They have this kind of a tip. This one's a fine tip. It's a thinner tip. This one was a chisel tip. I really like the chisel tip best. You really can get a lot of different lines, a variety of thickness using this one. And sometimes, if I don't have time to go online and order my chalk markers and I need some, Michaels has some good variety. This one's a Craft Smart. This is a broad tip as well, or a chisel tip. A nice deep light blue hue. This is another brand that Michaels carries, Bistro. Also works pretty good. Sometimes they're not as opaque, but in a pinch I use them. And then I just wanted to show you this one. I won't be using this for the project, but there's also a round tip for this thickness as well. So I will be using blue and white. I think those two colors are nice for a whale project. Usually I do only use a very few colors. White is my main color. I just think it gives it more professional, elegant look. When I use another color, it'll usually be for highlights or for shadows or giving it a texture, things like that. And here it is. This is my guide. I went ahead and drew some guidelines, of which is the baseline of where each word would go. And I really like how everything's kind of coming from this one point and just kind of going out there. So there's a nice flow. So spacing is really important when you do a chalkboard. You want to leave the edges untouched, and you also want to make sure that there's some space between each word. You really don't want letters to touch there. You don't want letters to go all the way to the edge. It's just visually more pleasing when you have spacing like that. So I'm going to go ahead and draw everything in with my chalk markers. With chalk paint, I don't think it's non-porous. It is a little hard to erase, so you do want to be careful and try not to make many mistakes. but if you move fast enough and you do it, you go ahead and erase pretty quickly as soon as you make a mistake, then it should be okay. So I do have my wet napkin and I do have a dry one. Sometimes there's a little bit of residue that the water leaves behind, so that helps out a lot. And there it is. There's the finished chalkboard. I'm just going to go over a couple of decisions I made while I was working on it. A lot of the times I'll go ahead and do the thumbnails, but I'll make decisions as I go and see how I feel about certain colors and certain look. I decided to go and put the blue on here. It's a nice fun play with the different colors on the same word. And I really wanted the word hello to stand out a little bit more because I figured this would be a nice piece on your door or by your entryway as a welcome sign. And so I gave it the blue half-tone color. And I went ahead and I put some shadow lines all along the edges there. Just whenever you put shadow lines, try and stay consistent and imagine that the light is coming from a certain direction. Like here, the light is coming from this direction, kind of like where the source of all these lines were coming from. So all of my shadow lines are on the right-hand side of all of the curves. Of course, spacing, again, is super important here. I didn't want the shadow line to touch the words. That way, they're just visually much easier to see. Things aren't so busy, and there's space for your eye to kind of have a break from all the design elements that are in this piece, especially since it is kind of small. I mean, this is the size of it compared to my hand. So there you have it. That is the chalkboard DIY. I erased all of the chalk pencil that I had as the guidelines, and later on I will go outside and spray a sealant on top. That way it is a permanent design that you can hang on your door or your entryway, and it's just really cute, really fun way to say hello as your guests come in. Thank you so much for joining me. That was a really fun, easy project, and I hope you learned something from the video today, whether it's how to make your own chalkboard or do a little hand lettering. And practice, practice, practice. Use paper, lots and lots of paper and pencils, really inexpensive materials to practice your lettering before you feel confident enough to just throw some cool letters on a board. And you can find items like this and other fun hand lettering projects that I do on my Etsy shop. The link is going to be below. And make sure you hit the like button if you want to see more videos like these. Leave a comment leave a photo of a project that you've worked on inspired by my videos, and subscribe. Thank you so much.